In America's muscle era, something almost ridiculous happened. The same factories building quarter-mile monsters also built family wagons, and sometimes they just mixed the two. They bolted big block V8s, performance axles, and heavy-duty suspensions into long-roof grocery getters, then quietly handed the keys to dads who only asked for something practical. Most people never knew these cars existed, but the drag strips, the police reports, and the broken rear tires tell a different story. These are 10 American V8 muscle wagons that were so fast they had no business wearing a roof rack. Number 10, 1968 Chevrolet Chevelle Concours 396. On paper, this was the mid-size family hauler. Column shifter, bench seats, kids in the back, nothing special. But tick the right box on the order form, and you got the same 375 horsepower, 396 cubic inch big block that lived in super sport coupes. 4-barrel carburetor, high lift cam, and enough torque to ignore whatever was in the cargo area. Period correct builds and owner reports put these cars in the low 15-second quarter-mile range at over 90 miles per hour, with some sneaking into the high 14s once you added sticky tires. That is serious pace for a wagon that weighed close to 4,000 pounds and could still haul a week's worth of groceries. From the outside, it said PTA meeting. From the driver's seat, it said, hold on to the stroller. It was Detroit answering a question nobody asked. What if the family car could outrun your neighbor's muscle coupe? Number 9, 1969 Pontiac Tempest Safari 400. Pontiac was already famous for the GTO, but they quietly let you order the same basic heart in a wagon. The 400 cubic inch engine, especially in higher output trims, turned this long roof into a torque factory. Depending on tune, you were looking at around 350 horsepower and well over 400 pound-feet of torque. With the right 323 or 355 rear axle and a limited slip differential, these cars could punch out mid-15-second quarter-mile passes. And some owner-tuned examples have been timed in the low 15s at close to 95 miles per hour. 0 to 60 in the 8-second range might not sound crazy today, but remember, this was a full-size wagon on bias-ply tires, not a modern performance SUV. It looked like a family car because it was a family car. But the moment those secondaries opened on the big 4-barrel carburetor, it stopped being a people mover and started being a muscle car that just happened to bring the dog. Number 8, 1970 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser 455. This is the wagon with the glass roof and the attitude problem. Under that forward tilting hood, Oldsmobile offered a 455 cubic inch V8 that made mountains of torque. In stock form, you were looking at roughly 360 advertised horsepower and torque numbers that started with a 5. In period road tests, big block Vista Cruisers could hustle down the quarter mile in the mid 15-second range at around 90 miles per hour. Owners who played with ignition timing, carburetor jets, and sticky rear tires flirted with low 15s in a car that weighed well over 4,000 pounds and had 3 rows of seats. What made it wild was the contrast. This was the take the family on vacation icon. Rear-facing 3rd row seat, luggage piled to the ceiling, kids staring through those skylight windows, and yet the engine up front was capable of vaporizing the rear tires through first gear. It was the ultimate bait and switch, a muscle car hiding under panoramic glass, pretending to be responsible. Number 7, 1971 Plymouth Satellite Sport Suburban 440. Mopar fans know the numbers. 440 cubic inches, big valves, big carburetor, and low-end torque for days. Plymouth quietly allowed that same lump to be dropped into their wagons. In performance tunes, you were in the 370 horsepower neighborhood with brutal mid-range pull. Pair it with a torque flight automatic and a performance axle ratio in the 355 range, and you had a family car flirting with low 15 or even high 14 second quarter mile times when traction cooperated. Trap speeds in the low 90 mile per hour range were not unusual. On the outside, it had the stance of a respectable middle-class wagon. Underneath, it shared bones with Roadrunners and GTX models. There are real stories from the era of dads dropping the tailgate at the drag strip and running nearly the same times as 2-door muscle cars parked 3 lanes over. When the secondaries opened, You were no longer in a family Plymouth. You were in a long roof muscle car dragging half a hardware store behind it. Number 6, 1971 Dodge Coronet Crestwood, 440. Dodge played a similar game. The Coronet was the ordinary family platform. The Crestwood wagon was the long roof variant. But if you spec the 440 cubic inch V8 with the 4-barrel carburetor, dual exhaust, and a performance rear axle, you suddenly had a very unordinary wagon. These cars were known for brutal mid-range. From 30 to 70 miles per hour, they felt like getting rear-ended by your own engine. Quarter-mile numbers in the mid-15s at over 90 miles per hour did not tell the whole story. Police-style suspension pieces and big drum brakes tried their best to keep up, but you could absolutely overwhelm the rear tires with nothing more than a firm right foot. Imagine pulling away from a light next to a compact import in the early 1970s. They see fake wood on the side and think, easy win. Then the big 440 leans on its torque curve, and the only thing they're looking at is a tailgate disappearing into the distance. Child seats in the back, Mopar anger under the hood. Number 5, 1971 Pontiac LeMans Safari 455 HO. The 455 high output was no joke. This was the high performance engine meant for serious muscle cars with better flowing round port heads, a hotter camshaft, and underrated factory horsepower numbers. On paper, it was in the low 300s. In reality, it was well north of that. Drop that into a LeMans wagon, bolt-on dual exhaust, and suddenly the family car spoke fluent drag strip. With traction, these wagons could run very low 15-second quarter-mile passes at 90+ miles per hour. And high 14-second times were not out of reach for well-driven examples with mild tuning. 0 to 60 in the mid 7-second range put it right in the hunt with genuine muscle coupes of the era. But the real charm was that nobody believed it until they rode in one. To the neighbors, it was just another Pontiac wagon with a roof rack. To anyone sitting in the front passenger seat while that big 455 came up on the cam, it felt like a GTO that could also bring the entire Little League team. It was the carpool rocket. Grocery bags in the back, high output badge on the tailgate. Number 4, 1968 Ford Country Squire, 428. Ford's full-size wagons could be optioned with the same 428 cubic inch V8 that lived in serious performance models and police interceptors. In some configurations, you got heavy-duty cooling, larger brakes, and suspension tuning lifted straight from pursuit packages. The big 428, even in family-friendly tune, delivered well over 300 horsepower and huge torque, pushing these wagons down the quarter mile in the low 15-second range at around 90 miles per hour. For something that could weigh 4,500 pounds or more with passengers and fuel, that is no joke. The result was a massive wood-paneled wagon that could cruise all day at highway speeds with barely a whisper from the engine, then shock everyone when the light turned green. If you saw one, you assumed slow. If you lined up next to one and heard the cam lope through dual exhausts, you realized you had misjudged your opponent badly. It was the school-run car with police car lungs. Number 3, 1994 Buick Roadmaster Estate LT1. Jumping forward in time, this is the wagon that borrowed its heart from the Corvette. Under the hood was a 5.7-liter LT1 V8, factory rated at around 260 horsepower and over 300 pound-feet of torque, with modern electronic fuel injection and overdrive gearing. In stock form, Roadmaster estate wagons could crack low 15-second quarter-mile times at around 92 to 94 miles per hour. With a simple performance tune, free-flowing exhaust, and stickier tires, many owners comfortably dipped into the 14-second bracket, all while carrying 7 passengers and a week's worth of luggage. 0 to 60 in the mid 7-second range made it quicker than many so-called sports sedans of the 1990s. It was the last gasp of the traditional American long roof. Wood grain on the sides, leather inside, and a drivetrain that shared DNA with a sports car. From the outside, it looked like retirement. On an empty on-ramp, it looked a lot like a full-size Corvette that happened to have a tailgate. Number 2, 1969 Chevrolet Kingswood, 427. Chevrolet's full-size Kingswood wagon could be ordered with the 427 cubic inch big block, including performance-oriented versions effectively shared with supersport models. In high-output trims, you were flirting with 390 advertised horsepower and torque that could tow a house. With a firm shifting automatic or 4-speed manual and a performance rear axle in the 355 or 373 range, these long-roof Chevys were brutally quick for their size. Enthusiast runs and magazine-style builds point to quarter-mile times in the low 15 and high 14-second range at mid-90 mile-per-hour trap speeds. That meant you could show up to the drag strip with the entire family, coolers, and a roof rack, and still run close to genuine muscle car numbers. It was the definition of a sleeper. Grandma's car with a race motor. Parked at the curb, it blended into suburbia. Leaving a light at full throttle, it sounded like a Chevelle SS wearing a station wagon costume. Number 1, 1964, Ford Galaxie, 500, 427, Wagon. Most people know the Galaxie 427 as a NASCAR hero and a full-size drag strip weapon. But a handful of buyers managed to special order that 427 cubic inch dual 4-barrel monster in wagon form. Same basic hardware, different roofline. We are talking about a race-bred engine that in its hotter forms was capable of well over 400 horsepower at high RPM. With a close ratio 4-speed manual, deep rear gearing, and the right tires, the two-door Galaxies could run quarter-mile times in the low 13s at more than 100 miles per hour. Drop that engine into a wagon, and even with extra weight, you are still staring at quarter-mile times deep into the 13s in the right hands. That put these wagons squarely into serious muscle car territory, while still being able to haul kids, camping gear, and whatever else you could cram behind the rear seat. 10 of the fastest American V8 muscle wagons ever built. And proof that sometimes the most dangerous car in the parking lot is the one with a roof rack and a car seat. Want to go deeper into the stories you love? Join the Rare Wheels Stories community and unlock exclusive content. Shift into first gear for just $5.99 a month and get early access to every new video. Or unlock the Collector's Vault at $14.99 a month for early access plus exclusive deep dive videos you won't find anywhere else. Support the passion and get more of the stories that matter. Click join below.